A peninsula divided, the fragile peace on the 38th parallel. The Korean Peninsula is a land marked by a history of conflict and division. The roots of this division trace back to the end of World War II when Korea was liberated from Japanese occupation. The peninsula was then split along the 38th parallel, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. Since the end of the Korean War in 1953, North Korea and South Korea have been locked in a tense standoff. The war, which lasted 3 years, resulted in millions of casualties and left the peninsula devastated. The armistice agreement brought an end to active combat but did not resolve the underlying conflict. The Demilitarized zone, a heavily fortified buffer zone, splits the peninsula in two, stretching 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula. The DMZ is one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world. It serves as a constant reminder of the unresolved tensions between the North and the South. Despite decades of diplomacy and occasional thaws in relations, the two Koreas remain technically at war. Numerous attempts at reconciliation, including family reunions and joint economic projects, have been made, but the fundamental issues remain unresolved. No peace treaty was ever signed. The Armistice Agreement of 1953 was intended as a temporary measure, but it has become a long-standing status quo. Efforts to negotiate a formal peace treaty have repeatedly stalled, leaving the peninsula in a state of perpetual tension. The North, under its authoritarian regime, has pursued nuclear weapons and a powerful military. The regime's focus on military strength and nuclear capabilities has led to international sanctions and isolation, but it continues to prioritize its defense and deterrence strategies. Meanwhile, the South has transformed into a vibrant democracy and economic powerhouse. South Korea's rapid economic development, known as the Miracle on the Han River, has made it one of the world's leading economies, with significant advancements in technology, industry, and culture. Its military, while smaller than the North's, is modern and well-equipped. South Korea's alliance with the United States provides it with additional security guarantees, and joint military exercises are a regular occurrence to maintain readiness. The stark contrast between these two Koreas highlights the precariousness of the peace. The North's isolation and militarization stand in sharp contrast to the South's openness and economic success, creating a complex and volatile dynamic. Any miscalculation or provocation could ignite a conflict with devastating consequences. The fragile peace on the 38th parallel remains a critical issue for regional and global security, requiring constant vigilance and diplomatic efforts to prevent escalation. Military muscle comparing North and South Korea's arsenals. North Korea boasts a massive military with over 1 million active personnel. Its ground forces are particularly formidable, equipped with thousands of tanks and artillery pieces. However, much of its equipment is outdated, dating back to the Soviet era.
South Korea, with a smaller but more technologically advanced military, relies on its air power and naval superiority. Its forces are equipped with modern fighter jets, warships, and sophisticated missile defense systems. This technological edge is a key advantage for the South in any potential conflict.
David and Goliath conventional warfare and the South's advantage. In the context of the Korean Peninsula, the dynamics of conventional warfare present a fascinating study of contrasts and capabilities. In a conventional war without the use of nuclear weapons, South Korea would likely have the upper hand. This is due to its well-trained and highly disciplined military forces, which undergo rigorous training and preparation for various combat scenarios. Its modern military, combined with its economic strength, would give it a significant advantage. South Korea has invested heavily in state-of-the-art military technology, ensuring that its forces are equipped with the latest advancements in weaponry and defense systems.
The South's Air Force in particular would play a crucial role in any conflict, targeting North Korea's military infrastructure and supply lines. With advanced fighter jets and strategic bombers, the South Korean Air Force could achieve air superiority, disrupting enemy operations and providing critical support to ground troops. However, North Korea's sheer manpower and vast artillery forces cannot be ignored. The North has one of the largest standing armies in the world, and its artillery units are capable of launching devastating barrages. They could inflict significant damage in the early stages of a conflict, especially on Seoul, the South Korean capital, which lies within range of North Korean artillery. The densely populated city could face severe casualties and infrastructure damage, complicating South Korea's defensive and offensive strategies. Additionally, South Korea's naval capabilities would also be a critical factor. With a modern fleet of warships and submarines, the South could control key maritime routes, cutting off North Korean supply lines and providing support for amphibious operations. Ultimately, while South Korea's technological and economic advantages are significant, the outcome of a conventional war would depend on numerous factors, including strategy, international support, and the ability to sustain prolonged combat operations.
The nuclear threat Pyongyang's wild card. The most significant threat posed by North Korea is its nuclear arsenal. This arsenal is not just a collection of weapons. It represents a strategic tool that Pyongyang uses to assert its power and influence on the global stage. The development and display of these nuclear capabilities serve as a constant reminder of the potential devastation that could be unleashed.
While the exact size and capabilities of its nuclear program remain uncertain, experts estimate that North Korea has made significant advancements in both the quantity and quality of its nuclear arsenal. The regime has conducted multiple missile tests, each one demonstrating increased range and precision. These tests are not just for show. They are a clear signal to the world of North Korea's growing military prowess. It is believed to possess a growing number of nuclear warheads and the means to deliver them. This nuclear threat is a game-changer in any assessment of the military balance on the Korean Peninsula. It raises the stakes of any conflict to an unimaginable level. The potential for a nuclear attack, even on a limited scale, is a chilling possibility that hangs over any analysis of a potential war. The international community remains on high alert, constantly monitoring North Korea's activities and seeking diplomatic solutions to mitigate this ever-present threat. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of miscalculation could be catastrophic.
Section 5. Allies at the ready, the US, China, and the geopolitical chessboard. The Korean Peninsula is not just a regional flashpoint, it is a global one.
The United States has a long-standing security commitment to South Korea and maintains a significant military presence there.
China, North Korea's closest ally, also has a vested interest in stability on the peninsula.
Any conflict would inevitably draw in these global powers, with the potential for a much wider conflagration. Section 6. Echoes of the Past. Lessons from the Korean War. The Korean War from 1950 to 1953 serves as a stark reminder of the devastation that conflict on the peninsula can bring. The war, which drew in the United States, China, and other countries, resulted in millions of casualties and left the peninsula divided. The lessons of the Korean War are clear. Any conflict would be brutal, costly, and unpredictable. The involvement of major powers, as in the previous war, could escalate the conflict into a global conflagration.
Section 7, a war on two fronts, cyber warfare and information warfare. In the 21st century, warfare is no longer confined to the battlefield.
North Korea has invested heavily in cyber warfare capabilities and has been linked to numerous cyber attacks around the world.
South Korea, with its advanced technological infrastructure, is also a major player in cyberspace.
In the event of a conflict, both sides would likely engage in cyber attacks targeting each other's critical infrastructure, financial systems, and communication networks. Section 8. The Fog of War, Predicting the Unpredictable. War is inherently unpredictable. Despite all the analysis and war games, the course of a conflict on the Korean Peninsula is impossible to predict with certainty. Unforeseen events, miscalculations, and the fog of war could all lead to unexpected outcomes. The potential use of nuclear weapons adds another layer of complexity and unpredictability, making any prediction about the outcome of a war a highly speculative exercise. Section 9. Scenarios for conflict, from limited strikes to full-scale war. A conflict on the Korean Peninsula could take many forms, ranging from limited skirmishes to a full-scale war.
One scenario involves a North Korean provocation, such as an artillery attack on a South Korean island or a cross-border raid. Another scenario involves a preemptive strike by the United States or South Korea against North Korea's nuclear facilities. In the most dangerous scenario, a miscalculation or accident could spiral into a full-blown war, potentially drawing in the United States and China.
Section 10. The human cost. A humanitarian catastrophe in the making. Beyond the military calculations, it is crucial to remember the human cost of any conflict. The Korean Peninsula is one of the most densely populated regions in the world, and a war would result in unimaginable suffering.
Millions of civilians would be caught in the crossfire, and the destruction of infrastructure would have devastating consequences. The use of nuclear weapons would magnify these horrors exponentially.
Section 11. A hope for peace. The uncertain future of the Korean Peninsula. The future of the Korean Peninsula remains uncertain. While the threat of war is always present, so too is the hope for peace.
Dialogue, diplomacy, and a commitment to peaceful solutions are essential to averting another devastating conflict. The international community must work together to address the root causes of tension on the peninsula, including North Korea's nuclear program and the lack of a formal peace treaty. Only through peaceful means can we hope to achieve a lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula.